Okay, there we go. All right, well, good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning. If I haven't had the privilege to meet you, I'm Dr. Michelle Rice, and I have actually had the awesome opportunity to be at Hoover since it opened. I was the principal that they chose to open it, so it has been probably my greatest adventure actually in education. And I've actually opened 2 campuses, one as an assistant principal in another district, and then I opened this one 7 years ago. And this has been just such a fun journey to be able to do something that nobody had ever done in Cy-Fair before. So we're super excited to have you. Just so that you know, this is Sasha Lamar. She's one of our behavior coaches, and she's doing our Spanish translation today. And then these amazing ladies over here are Brenda Garza. She's our administrative secretary. And then Lupita Ramirez is our principal secretary. So those are 2 of my right hands. I have about 4 actually, to help keep me in line, as my dad would say. But they are amazing ladies that help us make sure that everything's running smoothly here on campus. And then some of my other 18 members may pop in, but they're actually taking care of business, running the school, while I'm in here taking care of the meeting to help y'all be informed of what it means to be a campus that receives Title I funding. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start it. If you didn't get a cookie, feel free to help yourself throughout. We got plenty of cookies. As I said earlier, it's the breakfast of champions, right? Actually, I believe in a healthier breakfast than that, I promise. But cookies is a great, I'm real big on alliteration, that cookie connection, those 2 C's to make all things cute and sound good together. All right, so our objectives today, and I'm gonna be moving this one too, are I want you to be able to understand what it means to be a campus that receives Title I funding. And in addition to that, though, I want you to learn about and discover volunteer opportunities that we have available here at Hoover for parents. And even sometimes, even if a grandparent, you know, if you send a note, even a grandparent could volunteer, and anybody can sign up to be a volunteer in our district, not just here at Hoover, but we also have something called Global Volunteers that you can be and actually go volunteer at any campus in our district when you become a global volunteer. So some awesome opportunities. And Christy Herring, our 2nd grade and kindergarten assistant principal, just walked through here. I didn't know if she'd be staying or not, so that you would know who's in here. All right, so first and foremost, what does it mean to be a campus that receives Title I funding? Because Title I funding is above and beyond what the district provides in our budget for us. It actually comes from the federal government. Because of that, there's actually quite a few guidelines that actually fall into the funding, but we do receive a certain amount of funding, and then we have specific parameters that we have to make sure we meet in order to use these funds. But what it does mean is it goes above and beyond our normal budgets that, again, the district provides, and it's able to provide supplemental staff and program materials and supplies, as well as it identifies students who are struggling and able to provide assistance to help them meet standards. And then it also offers us the opportunity to conduct parental meetings like this one and other trainings and activities with our parents, and things that we can even provide for at home that we wouldn't be able to provide if we didn't have this additional funding. For example, some of the things that we do as far as with staffing, right now I actually have 2 teachers that are actually provided for with title funds. One of them is our action-based learning lab teacher, Mr. Wager. If you've heard your student come home and talk about going back to action-based learning, there's a ton of research that supports the brain and movement. And so also we have large grade levels. If you've looked, we have 10 2nd grade, we have 10 1st grade, we have 10 kindergarten, and that's a lot of grade levels for all of our teachers and all of our kids to go to PER and music together. So by having action-based learning lab, it allows us to meet the requirements that we have to for PE minutes, but then it also allows all of our teachers to plan together during that planning time so that we can have good forced instruction. So because then we split our kids at that PM time into 4 rotations instead of just 3. And so if we didn't have Title I funds, I wouldn't be able to provide that, but I can pay for the salary because of the additional funds that we have. We also have 1 additional support staff that is paid for title funds with title funds. And we'll also talk about how we've also utilized, because the district has title funds too, that we'll be able to talk about how that has impacted us as well. When we look at extra assistance, that is considering like interventionists, like we're able to provide extra temporary workers is what we call them, that are most of the time retired teachers or teachers who have decided that maybe they are resigned, but they still want to stay in education some. Then they will come in and they work with our students, pull smaller groups, or go in and push into the classrooms to pull smaller groups to be able to help close that gap that could be there with learning issues. Okay. And then again, parental meetings like today, the cookies, we've been able to buy the cookies and the water, all of those types of things. With our title funds, like next week is our Hero Dads kickoff for you dads that want to take part. And we actually are having ice cream sandwiches. And again, those will be provided. And then we also do things like Parent University. And so we're going to get your input before everything's done so that you know what, to be able to provide input on what we do here. Now, again, our funds, though, originally they come to us, but it's from the district amount of title funds that we get. And the district does get a large amount of title funds because of the fact that we are a large district. The things that the district, though, provides and that they look at for their Title I is student academic assessments. So it's not just elementary that also gets Title I funds. It can also be our middle school and our high school. And so they are looking at those academic assessments. They also, though, do provide additional assistance provided to struggling students, because sometimes because of title funds or even all ESSER funds, they kind of tie together. And ESSER, though, is a program that came about because of COVID. It actually goes away this year. It's our last year to get those funds. The title will continue. But with that, though, sometimes district will even provide another staff member. For example, Dr. Henry said, hey, I have some extra funds. I want y'all to have an extra staff member. Talk with Dr. Gorey, who is somebody who coaches all of us here on campus, and see how you'd like to spend those funds. So we did get another math interventionist because of those funds. But again, it all comes about by sometimes the district allotments. We also, though, they talk about the coordination and integration of federal funds and programs. Some of our pre-K programs are brought about because of Title and ESSER funds. We also, though, look at like migrant programs, again, preschool, school choice, because again, that's the reason we can open our transfers for those that would like that. And for our migrant students, or like even our students that are new to the country, when they get into 4th or 5th grade, we do have programs even there that they go and go to another campus because they are second language learners, that they don't know any English, and they can even go to those campuses or to different campuses which provide those programs. Actually, our full day pre-K program, we have actually been one of the only full day pre-K programs, and we've been full day pre-K since we opened. And the way that the district was able to do that, though, was part of it was through campus allocations, and then part of it was paid with title funds. So part of our staff was provided from a campus allocations that the district budget provide. And then the other one was that they utilized district title funds to be able to provide that. And I'm proud to say that we've been full day since we opened with our pre-K program. And we've actually been the model that the district has utilized with our pre-K program as they went to launch full day pre-K for all of the other campuses that now have it. Because that started in the year that COVID hit. I believe it was March of 2020. I was when COVID hit. And so full day pre-K for all the other campuses that didn't have it, and there were only 2 at the time, and ours was the largest. That started in January of 2020. And in the fall of 2019, actually campuses from our district were coming to Hoover to visit, to see our full day pre-K, and then to learn from us of how we had done it. But the reason we were able to do it was because of title funds. Okay. They also look at parental involvement strategies, and including the district parental involvement plan. And we'll talk about kind of what they do with that as we move into the program, into the presentation. Okay, part of the thing that drives our title funds, though, is our campus improvement plan. And you'll also sometimes hear that as our CIP. And what that is that's set by 4 goals that we have, and the goals work on academic achievement. They work on ensuring that we are hiring and retaining highly qualified teachers. It also is on safety and security, and then also the parental involvement piece. So those 4 goals make up our CIP. And then everything that we spend our budget, our title fund budget on, has to go in between those goals. So every time that we put in, like, for example, when we were purchasing the cookies for today, then we put it under goal number 4, which is our parental involvement, because we're working to bring in parents to help them understand exactly what it means to be a campus that receives Title I funding. And so again, that supports that 4th goal of involving our parents and our families in our school community. So a campus improvement, though, plan does include several of the following things. It does include a needs assessment. It also looks at a summary of data. It looks at the goals and the strategies, like those 4 things that I talked about. It also looks, though, at our professional development needs that our teachers need to grow and to continue to improve and become the best educators that they can become. It also looks though at the coordination of resources and our comprehensive budget or overall budgets. It includes the school's parental involvement plan, because again, that goes under that fourth goal. And it also, though, we involve you though and the parents are involved though in the creation of this plan with our campus performance objective committee. We actually had our first meeting last week. I did share that information though with all of our families, because I feel like it's important that all families know, even though not everybody serves on the committee. I feel like it's important to be transparent and for parents to be in the know of everything that's happening here on campus. So that's the reason even right now I'm recording this meeting, just like I did last week, because I want you to know. I want you to be in the know. That way, if you have questions, you can reach out and ask. But we do have several parents though that are serving on our committee this year. We have Jessica Adame, Cynthia Coburn, Juliana Martinez, Anna Valeria Bowman, and Karen Lara. All of those parents are serving on our CPOC committee. Our next CPOC will be in November, and it is a public one, and we do send that out. We do it via Zoom because it is early, so that way if you can't take part, you can still attend via Zoom. Even sometimes our parents that are on the committee can't always come because it's early before school, they're getting kids ready, but they can still listen in and take part because we do offer it via Zoom as an opportunity. Part of the district's budget though, when we're looking at title funds, they set aside 1% of it for parental involvement. And again, we've already kind of talked about some things that we do here. I'm going to talk about a few other things so that you'll be aware. But just so that I want you to know kind of what happens. Any district though that receives over 500,000 or 500,000 or more as a Title I funds is required by law to set aside 1% of that for parental involvement. And so we utilize actually we actually utilize more than what the district requires us to do. And I'll be able to tell you a little bit of how we do that. So 5% of that money that the district receives, they can keep back at the district to use for parental involvement things there. But then the remaining 95% though, then they reallocate out to all of the campuses. And we are a large district. I can't tell you exactly how many campuses receive title funds right off the top of my head, but just to kind of give you an idea, we just opened elementary 58 this year. So that kind of tells you, I think we have 96, we made it 97 schools overall. As a district, we are the third largest school district in the state of Texas. And so that kind of gives you an idea that we do receive a lot of funds and they really work to get it all back out to the campuses, because again, 95% goes out to the campuses and then only 5% stays at the district. As a campus though, we receive $6,510 for parental involvement. And so we're going to kind of talk about some of the things that we already have allocated for this year, but then also we're going to ask for your input at the end. And again, if you don't get to give it today, it's going to go out in a presentation. So you'll be able to even get those QR codes even as we finish up. Okay, some ways though that we do parental involvement. One is these meetings. We had one last night. We're having the one today, and we actually had, I think, over 125, 130 last night. And mind you, we had kids too, so it wasn't just parents. We had kids, but we had a large involvement last night. But that's one thing we do. Next week we have our Hero Dads kickoff, and again we will be doing ice cream sandwiches for that event for dads. We also offer several instructional nights. We've got one coming up in October when we do our book fair, and we do a lot. I've had parents ask me, do you do them together? And we do. So don't get mixed up thinking, oh, well, no, it's not. We do things together because we find we have a bigger turnout that way. And so we will next week is Hero Dad, and then I think we skip a week and we have book fair as well as an instructional night that night. And those things are normally hands-on, bring the kids, all types of things there. Another thing you should have gotten is the parent quick reference guide that was sent home. And if you didn't, you can reach out to the front office. We should have extra copies, but that's a resource to keep at your fingertips. I often say, hey, put it on your fridge, throughout the school year as a reference point for that. But that's something that we provide as well. Again, that is provided for parents. So it's a Title I resource that we've had printed and copied at our print center. As a resource for you for the year. Another thing that you'll be getting if you haven't gotten it yet, because we had some issues with Print Center. We have had issues with it for the last couple of years, and we always use the same thing. So it's an issue that Print Center gets it mixed up. But it is this communication notepad that you will get. And what it allows you to do is, like, say maybe your kid is absent because they've been ill. you're able to just send this note in as an excuse note. Say maybe they're leaving early because you have an appointment, then you can send in this note, and it just makes it easy to basically just fill in the blanks. Now, we do have it in English and in Spanish for our families, and again, you're just filling in the blanks and then you just send it in. And so it's a communication tool to hopefully make your life easier. I know that I'm a mom too. My daughter's in high school now, but I had one of these because she was with me at school when she was in elementary, and it made it so much easier. So all I have to go is boom, boom, boom. Here you go, cross and take it with you. And so again, it's hopefully something that will make your life a little easier at home to help communicate with us at school. And also, like, even if you have a transportation change, then that it's a way for you to do that as well. But those are working. If you haven't gotten it yet, it should be coming home soon. Another thing that we do that I've always loved doing, and I've been doing it since COVID, is we actually were able to put books in kids' hands. We're actually, last year we got to do it like none other, and it was the most exciting thing ever. But if you were here, we got to do a buy one, get one book fair with the kids. And so I would be walking down the hallways, and the kids would be coming up and running and hugging me and saying, "Thank you, Dr. Rice, for the books." And because they got to actually come shop. In years past, we were able to just give them to them because Scholastic wasn't doing that type of book fair. But last year we actually got to bring the book fair in, and it was such an awesome thing, because again, it's things we're getting to you to take home to help you with your students. So if they have books in their hand so that they can have practice reading more, it's helping make them more successful. And they love getting those books. In fact, we gave some away last night at curriculum night, and we will be giving more away at our upcoming instructional nights and such as well. Another thing we provide, and we're actually partnering with Joel to do this year, is our parent university. So again, when you get the opportunity to give input, any topics maybe that you'd like to see covered, those are things that we take into thought as we're planning for those events. But those are just ways that we can help you help your kids be more successful. Okay. Now, another thing that we want to talk about is what is involved in the school parental involvement plan. And again, we do want your input, and that will be at the end, that we will offer a QR code. There's several QR codes that you can access. But with the school's parental involvement plan, it is designed to work in a partnership with parents to increase the student achievement. Again, we do need your input in order to be able to make what we call our homeschool agreement. And you have table copies of this. It is in English and in Spanish on the back. But what we're needing from you is we look at this and revise it every year according to the input that we receive. We as a school at the bottom, we commit to certain things, and I work with my staff to look at and say, is this what we're committed to be able to help our heroes be successful? But then also we need your inputs. You know, what can your student do? You know, it might be that your student can follow the rules at school, that they can do our RISE matrix, that they can show respect, they can display integrity, they can practice safety, and they can give their best efforts. That could be something that you could say, my student can do that. My student can also put forth hard work and effort in order to be successful. They can practice when they get home, either reading or whatever it is that you're wanting them to practice. What can your student do? That's one thing we're going to need input on, is what can your student do? But then also, what as a parent can you do? Is it that you can volunteer time to help us be more successful? Is it that you can make sure that they get to bed on time so that they get a good night's sleep? Is it that you can make sure that they get to school on time? You know, because getting here on time and not leaving early is part of the journey. I mean, it's important. We've also been talking with the kids about excellent attendance. You know, if you saw today, I did a post on our excellent attendance board because we've been celebrating classrooms that have 95% or higher of attendance. Now, mind you, we know kids get sick, and if they're sick, we want them to stay home. We do, because we want to make sure that we can keep everybody healthy. But when kids are here, and somehow during COVID, that excellent attendance has kind of been lost. And so we're really doing a push on making sure that we have excellent attendance and really celebrating that. Like we celebrate every week who had 95% or higher. We have a board out there that says exciting things happen at school. And so every time a class has 95% or higher for the week, they're getting a confetti around their teacher's name. And we will change that out every 9 weeks. But again, that's something that you can do as a parent, is making sure that they're here when they're well and when they're ready to go, so we can get them here. And that's part of something that you as a parent can do. So again, we're going to want your input again on what your student can do, and then what you can do as a parent. And then this document, which is our homeschool partnership, which I just kind of talked about. Once we receive the input, then we will be compiling it together. And our goal is for you to be able to have a hard copy of this for home so that you'll know what your agreement is, what our agreement is, what your kids' agreement is. And our goal is for the teachers to be able to hand that to you during parent conferences. And our parent conferences are planning to start the month of October. The teachers will have from October 1st through, I believe, November 3rd is our date that we set yesterday to get those parent conferences. We don't have a set day like we've had in the past. That kind of changed with all elections starting taking place in buildings and stuff. So because of that, they started making those days professional days instead. But I know our teachers have a work day and a lot of them will do it maybe sometimes during their work day, but they'll be working to set up conferences all during that month of October through November 3rd. And the goal is to have this done and ready to the teachers to hand to you when those occur. Okay. Another question, though, that we want to make sure you're aware of that you can ask always. And honestly, I've been a principal of a campus that didn't receive funding from Title I and now one that does. And I was actually at the one that didn't receive Title I funding for 7 years. And I've been here, this is 7 years too. So I've had both experiences, but to me, it didn't matter what school you were at, whether you were at one that didn't receive Title I funding or one that does, you should be able to know if your teacher is highly qualified or not. And what highly qualified means is that they are certified in the areas that they need to be certified in. So, but what I want to assure you though, is that if we have teachers that are not certified in those areas, that we do send notification. But you can also call HR at any time to ask for that information. And that is that number down there. But this is also included in our newsletter. If you scroll down to the newsletter in this month, so it'll come out in October, all of this information, and I believe that it was included even in last month. I kind of think we keep it in there all the time. But this is always included in there if you want to know about the certifications of your teachers. But I can assure you that every one of our teachers are highly qualified except for 2, and those families have already been notified. But what I can tell you is that those 2 that are not highly qualified yet, one is certified in another area and she's working to seek those certifications. The other one is in an alternative certification program. So again, she is actively seeking those certifications to make them highly qualified. Just like you've seen, if you go to maybe your favorite restaurant, or if you go to eat in your favorite fast food place, you may see a sign that says, "Be patient with us, we are short-staffed." Everybody, including education, is struggling with hiring. In fact, last year I had several vacancies. Thankfully, this year I've actually recommended for every position, except for one of our title paid ones, and we're still looking for it. That's a support staff. But all the teachers though that we've hired, again, are either working towards that certification or certified in one area and working to get another. So except for, I have those 2, but again, they're actively pursuing those certifications. And those classrooms have already been notified. There will be times maybe though too, that if a teacher goes on maternity leave, that maybe sometimes we may get a sub and they may not be certified, but again, we are still working to get highly qualified individuals that are at least have a bachelor's degree. They do have to have at least a bachelor's degree to even sub or to be a long-term sub. But again, they partner though with our instructional team, and my instructional team is extremely strong, as well as my teaching team that is extremely strong to work to support any ones that are even covering for those that are out on leave. Because we do have people having babies around here. Okay. Now, another thing to know about though is how is the district plan, parental involvement plan evaluated? Because not only do we evaluate here, but also the district does. And so this is kind of what the district does. I want you to be able to be aware of that. Is one, they do conduct an annual assessment of how they're utilizing title funds. So like come the springtime, you're going to probably get like a remind message from me. You'll also probably see it in our newsletter. You'll probably also get emails, maybe even from the district, that say, "Hey, we're wanting your input on how we spend our Title I funds." So please go in and share that, share your feedback. I always tell our teachers, and you'll even probably hear it from our students, because we do growth mindset focuses every month. And one of them is feedback is a gift. And it really is. There's a great book that I read to the kids. But it's all about how we give and we receive feedback. So again, we want that feedback. It's just, let's make sure I always tell our teachers, let's be professional and kind in how we give it, but we need that feedback to get better. And so does the district. And so they do offer that. So again, they do conduct that with the parents that receive Title I funding at campuses. They also analyze the content and the effectiveness of the current plan. They look at any barriers to parental involvement that may be there. And then they consider that data and input that they can use. And it might be that they do focus groups, committees, processes, and timelines. And then what they discover from that information impacts then the plan for the next year. Okay. So we always are continually looking at and seeing how we can grow and get better. Now, again, this is where your help, though, we're here to help you understand what it means to be a Title I funding, but we also need your input. And again, that opportunity will be at the end with that. So I'll ask for any questions here in a little bit. So if you have any questions, feel free to write those down. I'll be happy to answer. But another thing we want to move into is we need you. That's part of the parental involvement plan, is having parents involved in volunteering. And so on your tables today actually is our volunteer handbook, and it is in English and in Spanish. And so some things I want you to know though about volunteering, because it doesn't just benefit us here at Hoover. When you volunteer and you log your hours that we're going to talk about, it actually benefits our district. In fact, our district is one of the biggest, as I said earlier, in the state. And because of our community involvement, our parents, volunteers, as well as our business and our community partners that we do have, we actually receive a large amount of grant funds that then they can take and put back into our kids and into our district so that we can better our district continually. So one thing to look at, we do have lots of volunteer opportunities, but there's also the opportunity for you to become a global volunteer if you're interested in. I know I talked to a parent just last night. She has signed up to be a global volunteer, and so she will be helping here at our book fair. But then she's also going to Brosnahan Elementary, which is our newest elementary school. That's off of Clay Road in Fry area. And she's going to be volunteering there to help with the book fair. So global volunteering doesn't just benefit here, you can go then and benefit other people. Another thing, when you're a global volunteer, you can even become a mentor. And we're always looking for mentors for students, not just here, but across the district. I know I've heard of mentors that they actually have followed the kids. So like they start with them in elementary, and then sometimes they'll go with them to middle school and then to high school, and then they're able to celebrate and help them graduate. I know they did a whole spotlight on a mentor that actually got to go to her mentee's graduation last year. And so being a global volunteer allows you that opportunity. And one thing I want to let you know is I'm super excited about our volunteer opportunities, but I want our parents to get so involved too, that you earn and log all these hours, because then you also get a recognition from the district. We do a recognition here for our volunteers with only so many hours, but when you get a lot of volunteer hours that are logged with the district, then you get invited to this big luncheon, and you guys, it is super nice. And they actually bring in talent from the district. I told parents last night, I bet you didn't know, but our district has its own mariachi band. And the kids are so talented. But then we also have step teams that are at some of the high schools that you're able to go and see the kids do their step routines. We have theater that people that come in, like last year, Bridgeland High School had some theater kids that went all the way to like one of the top presentations that they got to compete for awards. And they actually came and presented part of one of their theater pieces that they did. And so this event that they do in the spring, it's just this amazing celebration of our volunteers and what they do in our district, and also recognition for those business and community partners. But then you're able to also celebrate the talent that is in our district, because there is so much amazing talent that happens, and they will bring elementary groups from middle school to high school. It's absolutely amazing to be able to see. And so to get started though with that, what you need to do, and again, this will go, if there's a QR code in our handbook, but this will be sent home to you as well. I'm planning to get a communication out today via school messenger and remind. But you would log in to register as a volunteer. So even if you're coming to be a parent reader, because we had our first parent readers yesterday. So even if you're coming to volunteer as a parent reader, that still counts towards your volunteer hours. And so you would need to though register, and this again, I'll send all this out to you. You'll register as a volunteer, and this also, if you're interested in global volunteering, this is where you're going to go as well. You register. Then every time you volunteer, and it could be even if you're cutting out stuff at home, because we send stuff home, you keep those hours, you log them into the system. And then all of that starts to accumulate. And then after you get so many, that's when you get that invite to the district thing. After you get 1 hour, we invite you to ours. I mean, so we do one too. Ours is just normally later, and ours isn't as fancy, I promise, because the one that they do at the district is at the very center in the arena. I mean, it's beautiful, y'all, and it's an amazing celebration of our kids' talent. It really is. But we do some fun stuff here too. We'll have photo booth, all kinds of stuff, but it's not as fancy, I promise. But we still are going to recognize you because we want to celebrate our volunteers because it's so important. I'm a firm believer in the homeschool partnership. So, but then you would also, though, we want you to also, though, complete this volunteer interest form for us, because that's our personal form. And it lets us know the areas you want to be involved in. And then what we'll be able to do then is that we've got administrative and teacher team leaders that will be working with our volunteers to get things set up. And there's quite a few things. You'll see them in the handbook of opportunities that you can do. So again, this is just, again, QR codes that we shared. This is our Hoover Volunteer Handbook that you have in front of you, a hard copy that you can take with you today, but it's also on our webpage in English and in Spanish. And so that's a QR code for you to access this. And then this is the interest form for Hoover. Again, if you don't do it today, that's fine. It's going to be sent to you so that you have it. But again, we want all our parents to sign up for volunteering because again, that homeschool partnership is so important. In fact, I will put a plug in right now. My Reading Language Arts IS told me to say this. We need parent help to label things. I don't know if you know, but as a district, we have a new curriculum for Reading Language Arts. It's changing a lot of what we do. And the teachers, we actually just got a lot of the curriculum on the first day of school. So we're still working through it, and my support staff have been working as hard as they can, but our goal when our kids are here is to take care of our kids. And so we're not taking them away from kids to be able to label unless they do, if they have some time, you know, like maybe there's a little open spot, then they're labeling or whatever. But we've already had parent volunteers as well as some of our business partners up here helping with that. But we can use more parents. So if you are interested in helping with that, we will totally set you up. It's not something you have to go, oh my goodness, I know what I'm doing. No, yeah, I promise we'll set you up for success so that you can do that. But if you are interested in that, you can either let one of us know before you leave, or you can email hoover@cfisc.net and we'll get that email to the appropriate lady who's asking for help. In fact, if you want to, her email is Leigh, Leigh, .Dyer, DYER @cfisd.net. And she even said you could email her and she'd get you all set up because we got lots of materials to label because we're working to get them out to the teachers. The teachers are waiting on them. But I'm telling you, we've been working. We've had volunteers in since, I believe, the first week of school. And it's still not done because there's that much stuff. And so if you can help, that would be great. And I know Leanne would be going, thank you, thank you. In fact, she asked me this morning, what was the status last night? And boy, I haven't had a chance to look yet, but I'll look today. So, but we need your help, absolutely. So then this is, again, this will be shared with you, but this is what is needed. Again, the Title I input. One, your information on how can you help your child be successful for school? How can that, what can they do? Then also your input on our parental involvement funds. What ideas do you have? Share those with us because we really do consider those as we're planning out the year. Then also the registering to volunteer. That's again how you get signed up for those to log your hours. Even if you don't want to be a global volunteer, you're just going to be volunteering here. Again, you want to log those hours because those accumulate for the district, but then that also lets us know too, as we get our list together for our recognition, our volunteer appreciation that we do. Then again, access to the Hoover handbook. That way, if you don't want paper, because I don't like paper, y'all, I really don't like it at all. But it's part of my job sometimes, but I'd rather have electronic. That's just me personally. So again, but if you want electronic, it's here always. It's on the webpage. It's ready to go. And then also completing the Hoover volunteer form. And so if y'all need to get up here closer to this, because I know this is a lot of QR codes, but I wanted to have it all in one place for you to access, especially if you did it when you were at home for our parents. But that is the information that is needed today. Yes, ma'am. No, they are all different. Yes, ma'am.
So none of the, just the one in the yellow, highlighted in yellow is in the book, correct?
No, this is the registry. They're all labeled underneath what they are. So this is the input form from today's meeting of what we talked about, how you can help your kid, how you could help, or how what your student can do. Input. Okay. This here is registering to volunteer with the district. So you'll have that place to get your hours. And then here is just accessing our Hoover Volunteer Handbook, which you also have in front of you. And then this is our interest form for Hoover volunteers. So it's a different form saying, okay, if you look at, can I see yours? These two are Hoover forms, yes. No, they're not here. None of these are actually in here. These are all, and I will send this out to you today though too, so you'll have it, yes. But if you look at on our Hoover form, the volunteer opportunities. This is like our opportunities that we have here, like family events, fundraising. That is all listed on this form, the interest form, so that you can fill it out for what you're interested in, and then we're going to be compiling our list. And what I have is I have administrative and teacher leaders that will be working together to get those groups together, those volunteer groups together as we have needs of things, okay? Because like instructional, for example, we would love to have more parent tutors. And I know sometimes you may go, but we train you. So that's the thing. I have a great instructional team that they provide parent training. And sometimes it's just going and listening to a kid. Honestly, research shows I did my master's work or one of my research projects in master's in my master's degree. And I honestly read with 3 kids for a month for 15 extra minutes a day. And 2 of them, with just a month of 15 extra minutes, jumped like 2 or 3 reading levels. Now, mind you, we don't do reading levels anymore, but that was back in my day when I was teaching. But one of my other ones didn't, come to find out she had a learning disability later on, okay? But just those 15 extra minutes for a month during the school day, it wasn't even outside, you know, to where it was 7 days a week, it was 5 days a week. They made that much growth. So, and there is research too that just even the exposure, because my doctoral work was on students in the at-risk setting, on teachers working in at-risk, it shows too that just that exposure to books, seeing print, here being read to, makes such a difference in being able to get kids reading. And so that's the reason, even having parents just even come in sometimes to listen. But we will train you. If you want to do parent tutoring, we will provide all the training that you need. We're not going to just put you out high and dry. That's where I don't know what to do. No, we're going to make sure you know what you're doing so that you can help us help your students. Okay? So that's all that. No, you're good. No, what happened is we used to follow specific, the guided reading was what it called. I had to try to take it out of my vocabulary because with the new curriculum, we're not doing reading levels. We're doing more of phonemics and then learning the word work and different things like that. So it's kind of taking a shift. So they're still going to learn to read. It's just we're not basing it on reading levels as it was in years past. Okay, does that help you understand a little more? Okay. Yeah, because we used to follow Fonteness and Pinnell, and this year we have adopted H&P. No, is it H&P? Am I right on that? FMP. That's Fonteness, but I know, but we've done HMH. It's HMH. We've gone to the new program of HMH. Sorry, I'm still learning all of the new terms because it is new stuff that has come through the legislature. That's one thing. All of our reading language arts teachers, except for ones that are going through now, have been through the Reading Academy, which is the science of teaching reading. So have all of my instructional specialists, so have I, so have my APs, to be able to help support our teachers as we transition into this mindset of the science of teaching reading. And I will tell you, my reading language arts IS is, she's extremely knowledgeable, knows her stuff. And so she's helping all of us navigate and our teachers navigate this change. Yeah, so I hire really qualified, quality people. I have very high standards. Okay, all right, so that's kind of a lot of information. So thank you for taking part, but what questions do you have? It's okay, I'm gonna send it out and I will make it easier on you, okay? Yes, ma'am.
So I see that on here on your volunteer opportunities, are these the only volunteer ones, or if we see something in the school of a new volunteer opportunity, how do we let you know?
You can always reach out to me. I work hard to respond, always to remind. If you read, in fact, if you message me individually, I work hard to get back with you individually. But also if you see something, these are just categories that we thought everything could kind of fit in, is what we tried to come up with. Because honestly, when I went to go create a volunteer handbook, I actually reached out to the district and said, hey, you know, because we don't have a PTO, and one reason we don't is because of the budget with the money. So that's the reason we have our volunteer, our bits is what we call them. And so when we were working to launch it again, because we've launched it before COVID,
Okay.
then COVID hit, And it's been a while us getting back to it. So we actually rolled this out last year. So when I reached out to district, I said, do we have a volunteer handbook? And there wasn't anything out there. So I actually worked to create a resource because I just feel like we all do better with structures and systems in place. And so that was just kind of our overall that we came up with. But if you see a need and say, hey, I think this would be a good thing, hey, reach out to me and we'll talk about it and I'll get it to my A team and we'll consider it and we'll see. But we thought that most things would probably fall into the things that we have. But if we've missed something, it's very possible.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay. What? Yes, ma'am.
With the volunteer too, you guys used to send notes home, like if they needed something for like a field trip, you guys still do that then?
Yes, we still, as far as field trip, what normally happens with field trip, we normally only have 2 that go because of spacing and different things like that. And so normally the teacher sends something out, because even with field trips, we have to have permission forms and all that type of stuff. So then what the teachers do is they'll normally try to put it out and say if anybody's interested, and then if we have a ton, then a lot of times we do a random drawing system just to be fair. You know, I mean, it just depends. Sometimes we only have like 2 parents that are involved, that are interested,
Yeah.
but if we have a lot of times, what we've done is they've just kind of done random, because they're like, I just want to be fair, you know, to make sure and consider everybody.
Okay.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
forgot, I have another one. The communication notepad, I received it yesterday.
Okay.
But I received it in Spanish.
Okay,
How do
send
I
it
do
back.
that? Okay.
If you got it in Spanish, send it back and then ask your teacher to send it in English. And so, and then if you also want to send me a reminder, you can with your child's name and the students or and the teacher, and we'll work to Ms. Ramirez and I will work to get it in the right.
So do we not have to like do the envelope anymore for absences or something? Because we'd always have to write down his name and a note and send it to the thing. So we just write it in there and just leave it in there?
Well, actually just pull it out and then you might send your teacher a remind message, you know, because sometimes they're checking a lot of folders and sometimes things can be overlooked, never purposeful, but sometimes it does happen. So you might just send them a remind. I encourage our teachers a lot to use remind. We found that communication tool is so impactful. Sorry, let me stop this real quick.